Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Best English Podcast. My name is Sara, and I am truly, deeply happy that you are here with me today. If you are listening to this right now, it means something important. It means you have made a choice to improve, to understand, to connect. It means you are trying to improve your English. And with that choice, you probably carry a mix of feelings: a spark of hope, a desire for change, and maybe, just maybe, a layer of frustration too. A feeling that it should be easier by now, that you should understand more. Believe me, I understand that feeling better than you might think. Many years ago, I was not on this side of the microphone. I was exactly where you are. I sat with my headphones, my textbooks, my lists of words. I tried so hard, so desperately hard to listen and to grasp the meaning. But it was like trying to hold water in my hands. The sounds would flow in, and then they would simply flow out. Nothing seemed to stay. Nothing seemed to stick. I felt stuck. I felt slow. I looked around and felt like everyone else was moving forward on a fast train while I was pedaling a bicycle on a dirt road. And no matter how many hours I spent listening, native speakers in movies, in podcasts, in conversations, still sounded like a beautiful but impossible waterfall of sound. Too fast, too smooth, too natural to break into pieces I could understand. But something did change. It changed slowly and steadily, not in one dramatic day, not in one magical week, but step by step, brick by brick. I discovered habits, not grand, overwhelming actions, but small, daily habits. I found techniques, not secrets, but simple, overlooked methods. And I stumbled upon a way of listening, not just with my ears, but with my mind and heart, that finally helped me move forward. It wasn't about working harder. It was about working differently. And today, I want to share that entire journey with you. The struggles, the breakthroughs, the tiny victories. In this series, you will walk with me. You'll hear my story, interwoven with practical tips, small daily challenges, and real, actionable strategies that don't just live in a classroom, but work in the messy, beautiful reality of daily life. And before we take our first step together, I need you to remember one thing, the most important thing I will ever say to you. If I could do it, you can do it too. That is not just encouragement. That is a fact. If this podcast speaks to you, if it gives you a bit of hope or a practical idea, please help us grow. Like, subscribe, and share it with one friend. Just one friend who is also on this path. Your support tells us we are on the right track, and it helps other lonely learners, just like you and I once were, find this community. You are listening to Best English Podcast, your daily companion, your gentle guide, your step toward confident English. So, take a deep breath with me, and let's begin our journey together. When I first decided to take English seriously, to go beyond just exams and grades, I ran into a wall. It wasn't a wall of brick or stone, it was a wall of sound. I could read a text and, with time, understand it. I could write sentences, careful and correct. But listening, real, spontaneous, flowing English, it was a solid, impenetrable wall. My mind had a strategy back then, a bad one. It believed its job was to be a perfect, instant translator. So, I would hear a sentence like, he's actually running a bit behind schedule today. And my brain would panic. He is actually running a bit behind schedule today. Okay, running like sport? No. Behind schedule. Late. He is late. But why running? By the time this internal committee reached a verdict, the speaker had moved on to talking about the weather, the weekend, and their lunch plans. I was lost. Always one step or 10 steps behind. Maybe you know this feeling. You're watching a scene in a series. You catch the first few words, and then suddenly, the actors seem to swallow their words, speak faster, and it all blends into a confusing melody. You lean in. You concentrate harder. But the harder you try, the more slippery the sounds become. It's exhausting, and it can make you feel isolated. I remember a student, Armin, a bright, hard-working man. After a particularly tough listening exercise, he sat back in his chair, his energy gone. He looked at me and said, quietly, "Sarah, listening to English, for me, it is like listening to heavy rain. I hear all the individual drops hitting the ground, a constant, powerful sound. But I cannot catch a single drop. I cannot hold one in my hand and examine it. It's just noise." In that moment, I saw my younger self in his eyes. That deep frustration, the slumped shoulders, the quiet voice that wants to say, maybe I'm just not good at this. But here is the truth I want you to hear today. The truth I learned from Armin's rain and my own wall. Being stuck does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you lack talent or intelligence. It simply means you are using the wrong key for the lock. You don't need to push harder against the wall. You need to learn how to climb it, or better yet, to find the door. So, let's pick up one simple tool. Our first key: find a short audio clip. Very short, 10 to 15 seconds. A piece of a podcast intro, a single line from a movie scene, a sentence from a news headline. Step 1. Listen once, but with a new purpose. Your goal is not to understand. Your only goal is to hear the music, the rise and fall of the voice, the rhythm, the melody of the sentence. Is it excited? Calm? Questioning? Just listen to the sound as if it were an instrument. Step 2. Listen a second time. Now, allow yourself to catch just one or two words. Not all of them, just one or two that stand out to you, the clearest ones. It could be hello, because, yesterday. It doesn't matter, just catch them. Step 3. Listen a third time. And this time, you will speak. Repeat one small phrase out loud. It could be just two words. Hello, everyone. Or a bit behind. Mimic the speaker's tone. Don't worry about perfection. Worry about imitation. Feel the shape of the words in your mouth. This ritual is not about breaking the wall in one session. It is about softening it. Every time you do this, you are not just a passive listener. You are an active participant. You are taking a tiny piece of that wall and making it yours. Do this with one clip a day, just one, and watch what happens. Progress in language learning is rarely a straight line. It's more like a spiral. You circle around similar challenges, but each time you're a little higher, seeing a little more. And then there are moments. Small, quiet moments that change everything. My moment came on an utterly ordinary autumn evening. The air was cold. I was walking home, my old, worn-out headphones clinging to my ears. I was listening to a short English podcast, one I had listened to at least 5 or 6 times before. I knew the transcript by heart, or so I thought. Usually my listening was a tense double act. My ears heard the sound, but my eyes were glued to the written words on my phone, desperately trying to match them up. But that evening, my phone battery died. I was left with only the sound, just the voice in my ears and the darkening sky. I felt a flicker of panic, then resignation. Okay, I thought, just listen then. And in the middle of that familiar episode, something impossible happened. The host said a sentence, a full, complete sentence. And I understood it. Not through translation, not by seeing the words. I understood the meaning directly. It landed in my mind, whole and clear, like a bird settling on a branch. It was a simple sentence, probably something like, "And that's when she realized the true meaning of home." But to me, in that moment, it was a miracle. I actually stopped walking. I stood there on the sidewalk, cars passing by, and I replayed that sentence in my head. The clarity of it, the sudden, effortless understanding. A huge, ridiculous smile spread across my face. I had done it. My brain had done it. Without my conscious effort, it had connected the sound directly to meaning. Why was that moment so powerful? Because it was proof. Tangible, undeniable proof. Proof that my hours of listening were not wasted. Proof that my brain was capable of this. Proof that fluency wasn't a mythical land for other people. It was a direction, and I was finally, truly facing it. These moments are not luck. They are the inevitable result of consistent, gentle training. Think of your brain not as a computer to be filled with data, but as a muscle. A delicate, powerful muscle for pattern recognition. Every time you listen, even when you feel you understand nothing, you are giving that muscle a tiny, gentle workout. You are saying, "Hey, pay attention to these sounds. These patterns are important." The repetition is not boring. It is essential. It's the repetition that carves the neural pathways, making them deeper and faster each time. So, here is a challenge for you, born from that autumn evening. For the next 7 days, I want you to listen to English for just 3 to 5 minutes every single day, but with very specific rules. No pausing. Let it flow. No looking up words. Resist the urge. No transcripts. Trust your ears alone. Your only job, stay calm, breathe, and let the river of sound wash over you. Observe it. Notice when you catch a familiar word, but don't chase the ones you miss. You are not listening to understand everything. You are listening to train your ears' endurance, to tell your brain, this is a normal sound. We can be relaxed here. From this place of relaxation, not tension, those moments of clarity, your own cracks of light, will begin to appear. Trust the process. Trust your brain. It is learning, even when you can't feel it. We now come to one of the most common and most stubborn obstacles on the road to fluent listening: the habit of mental translation. This was my biggest crutch and my heaviest anchor. My old method was this. I believed that to understand an English word, I must first find its perfect equivalent in my native language. Word equals meaning. Sentence equals a series of translated words. It seems logical, right? But language is not mathematics. It's not a code to be cracked with a one-to-one cipher. English is a living ecosystem. It has its own logic, its own idioms, its own way of seeing the world. The phrase, "I'm feeling blue," has nothing to do with the color. "It's raining cats and dogs" is not a weather report about pets. When you try to force every English phrase through the narrow filter of your mother tongue, you lose the essence. You get the dictionary definition, but you miss the feeling, the nuance, the life of the language. I saw this vividly with a brilliant student named Layla. Her vocabulary was excellent, her grammar was precise, but listening to natural conversation was a struggle. One day, we listened to this casual line. "Yeah, I need to wrap up a few things at the office, then I'll head out." Layla's brow furrowed. She was stuck. "Wrap up," she muttered. "Wrap like a gift? Wrap a present? How can you wrap things at an office?" She was searching her mental dictionary for the literal meaning of wrap, and in doing so, she completely missed the metaphorical, very common meaning of finish or conclude. Her focus on translation blocked her from understanding the whole. That moment was a revelation for me as a teacher. The goal is not to build a bridge from English to your language. The goal is to build a home for English inside your mind. To create a direct pathway. English sound, concept, feeling. So, how do we start tearing down that translation bridge? Pick a simple, high-frequency phrase, something you hear all the time. For example, "I'm not sure. Let me think about it. That makes sense. What do you mean?" Now, follow these steps. Listen. Hear it spoken naturally. You can find clips online or even use text-to-speech. Feel, don't translate. What is the essence of this phrase? Is it hesitation? "I'm not sure." Is it request for clarification? "What do you mean?" Connect the sound directly to that feeling or situation. Visualize. Imagine a specific scene. For "let me think about it," see yourself in a cafe. A friend has just asked you a question, you tilt your head, you need a moment. The phrase lives in that scene. Repeat and own. Say the phrase out loud, not as a foreign string of words, but as the embodiment of that feeling or scene. Imbue it with the hesitation, the pensiveness, the clarity. When you do this, you bypass the translation department. You are building a new office in your brain where English has direct access to meaning. This is the beginning of thinking in English, and when you start thinking in it, listening to it becomes effortless. Freedom in listening begins the moment you stop being a full-time translator. One of the most beautiful and powerful techniques I ever discovered is what I call the cinema of the mind. It transforms listening from an auditory task into a multi-sensory experience. Here's what I mean. Close your eyes for a moment with me. You're not just listening to a podcast voice. You are sitting in a bustling, warm London pub. The air smells of wood and roasted nuts. At the table next to you, two old friends are reuniting. You can't see them clearly, but you can hear them. One has a deep, rumbling laugh. The other speaks with quick, excited gestures in her voice. You hear the clink of their glasses, the background murmur of other conversations. The friend says, "I couldn't believe it when I heard, after all these years." Do you see it? Do you feel the warmth, the texture of the sound? That is cinematic listening. You are not processing words. You are witnessing a moment. When you provide context and sensory details, your brain stops treating English as a problem to be solved and starts accepting it as a reality to be experienced. The words are no longer isolated. They are part of a tapestry of sound, emotion, and image. And our brains are exceptionally good at remembering stories and scenes. A fellow learner once told me her breakthrough came from this exact practice. She said, "Sarah, I started pretending every podcast was a movie playing in my head, even if they were just talking about economics. I'd imagine the speaker in a studio with graphs behind them, speaking passionately. The words stopped being abstract. They became part of a picture. And pictures? Pictures stick." Let's practice this right now. I'm going to say a simple line. I want you to close your eyes after you hear it and build the movie scene. Ready? I told him to meet me by the bridge at sunset. Now, close your eyes. Who is speaking? A man or a woman? Old or young? What is their emotion? Anxious? Romantic? Determined? See the bridge. Is it stone? Iron? Over a river or a ravine? See the sunset, the colors in the sky. Maybe there's a chill in the air, the sound of water below. The speaker is waiting or remembering. Now, hear the sentence again within that scene you created. I told him to meet me by the bridge at sunset. Feel the difference? The sentence is now alive. It has weight. It has a location in your imagination. This is your superpower. Use it. Whenever you listen, be the director of your own mental film. It will make your listening practice not just effective, but enjoyable. If mental translation is the enemy, then chunking is one of our greatest allies. This was the technical shift that turbocharged my fluency. What is a chunk? It's a group of words that naturally belong together, forming a single unit of meaning or function. Native speakers don't speak in individual dictionary words. They speak in these pre-assembled chunks. Think of it like this. Instead of go to the store, they say go to the store, one chunk. Instead of I have to get going, they say I have to get going, one chunk. Instead of to be honest with you, they say to be honest with you. Learning in chunks is efficient because you're learning the natural Lego blocks of the language, not a pile of separate, unconnected bricks. When you learn "could you please" as a single sound unit, you don't have to construct it in real time. It's ready to use. And more importantly, when you hear it, you recognize it instantly as a polite request frame. I witnessed the power of this with a young student, barely 14. His name was Taha. While others struggled with complex grammar rules, Taha soared. His secret? He was obsessed with movie dialogues. He would watch the same scenes over and over, not to understand the plot, but to copy the music of the phrases. He'd walk around saying, "You've got to be kidding me," or "I'm just saying," with perfect rhythm and intonation. He wasn't learning words, he was learning melodies of communication. And his listening comprehension was incredible because he had a vast library of these melodic chunks stored in his head, ready to be matched to incoming sound. Your mission this week is to become a collector of beautiful, useful chunks. Catch one a day. In your listening, podcasts, shows, conversations, pay attention for one common, useful chunk. Write it down in a chunk journal. Examples. Sort of. On the other hand, it depends on. What I'm trying to say is, record the music. Don't just write the words. Note the melody. Does the voice go up at the end? Down? Where is the stress? What do you mean? Versus, what do you mean? Are different chunks with different meanings. Give it a home. Create a simple sentence using the chunk. Say it out loud 5 times, focusing on the rhythm, not the individual words. Use it wild. Within 24 hours, find a way to use that chunk, even if you're just talking to yourself. What should I eat? It depends on what's in the fridge. By learning in chunks, you are building fluency from the ground up. You are learning the language the way it is actually spoken. This makes your speaking smoother and your listening faster, because you're processing meaningful blocks, not scrambling to assemble pieces. We are now going to tap into one of the most potent forces in human psychology, the link between memory and emotion. Your brain prioritizes what matters for survival and well-being. Emotional events matter a great deal. That's why you remember your first kiss, a shocking news day, or a moment of profound joy in vivid detail, but forget what you had for lunch last Tuesday. We can harness this natural principle for language learning. When you attach an emotion to a word or a phrase, you give it a tag that says, "This is important. Save this permanently." Dry vocabulary lists lack this tag. They are easily forgotten. But a word learned in a moment of laughter, suspense, or sadness has a much stronger anchor. Let me share a personal example. I was listening to an audio drama. In one scene, a character, after a long and dangerous journey, finally saw his hometown. The line was simple. There it was, home. But the way the actor said it, the relief, the exhaustion, the love in that one word, home, it hit me. I felt a physical pang of nostalgia for my own home. In that moment, the English word home transcended its definition. It became soaked in that feeling of return, safety, and belonging. I have never forgotten the texture of that word since. This is the difference between knowing a word and feeling a word. This is the difference between knowing a word and feeling a word. The emotional anchoring technique. When you encounter a new and useful word or phrase, don't just write its definition. Follow this process. Find the feeling. What is the core emotion of the context? Is it frustration? This is so annoying. Surprise. You're kidding. Relief. Thank goodness. Uncertainty. I'm on the fence about it. Connect to your life. Immediately, think of a time you felt that emotion. It doesn't have to be a grand event. Maybe annoying reminds you of a dripping tap you couldn't fix. Relief reminds you of finding your lost keys. Say it with that feeling. Now, say the new phrase out loud, but imbue it with your memory of that emotion. Let your tone carry the feeling. Say, "This is so annoying," with the genuine irritation of that dripping tap. You have now created a neural triangle. New phrase, universal emotion, personal memory. This triangle is incredibly stable. The language is no longer foreign data. It is a new way to express a universal human experience that you have lived. Use your heart as a study tool. Let yourself be moved by the stories you hear in English. The vocabulary within them will come for the ride, and it will stay. If you've been walking with me through these parts, You now have a toolkit. You have a way to soften the wall of sound. You know the power of a single moment of clarity. You're learning to dismantle the translation habit. You can build cinemas in your mind, collect linguistic chunks, and use emotion as your memory's glue. This isn't magic. This is the mosaic of progress. Many small, intentional pieces creating a beautiful, coherent picture of fluency over time. The final overarching skill is this: trusting the process and being kind to your past, present, and future self. Your past self did the best they could with the tools they had. Thank them for their effort. Your present self is brave for showing up, for trying again, for listening to this right now. Honor that bravery with patience. Your future self, the one who understands jokes, feels the emotion in songs, and connects deeply in conversations, is already smiling back at you, grateful for every small step you are taking today. Fluency is not a trophy you win and put on a shelf. It is a path you walk, a relationship you build with the language. Some days the path is sunny and clear. Some days it's foggy and you feel lost. But as long as you keep walking with the right tools in hand, you are never going backwards. You are always moving forward. Remember, the goal is not perfection. The goal is connection, understanding, the joy of a shared idea. You are on your way, and so we arrive here. The end of this series, but the beautiful, ongoing beginning of your unique journey. Look back at the ground you've covered just by engaging with these ideas. You have a new perspective. You have a box of tools. You have a community, even if it's just you and this voice, knowing that others are walking this path too. Let's crystallize the promise, your promise to yourself. I will be gentle. I will not compare my chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. I will be consistent. I will prioritize small daily contact over occasional overwhelming bursts. I will be curious. I will listen not just to learn, but to discover stories, perspectives, the music of another mind. I will speak, even if it's to myself, even if it's a whisper. I will give the language a voice through me. English is no longer a subject. It is a lens through which you can access millions of stories, ideas, and connections that were once silent. You are not just learning a language. You are expanding your world. Thank you. Thank you for your time, for your courage, for your trust. This has been Best English Podcast. I am Sara. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep imagining. Your fluent future is not a distant dream. It is being built by you in the quiet moments of practice today. And always remember, your future English-speaking self is already so proud of you.